My name is Sarah McMahill, and I'm zooming in here from Minneapolis, Minnesota. My grandfather was in a jazz band, and there's a section in Generations where it's just a little bit of a nod to that because I say swing. I really want to honor that part by having it in there. I originally wrote this for my nephew and for myself too because I wanted to. It was originally two B flat clarinets and a bass clarinet, and I thought, gosh, there's also a cellist in the family and a violinist in the family, and when I saw this opportunity come up on the American Composers Forum, it's like, let me see if I can't try and make this work and to make it in a way available for any musicians in the family. So yeah. I will say it was a little bit of a challenge just because it's not my main instrument. It's the strings are a little of a mystery for me sometimes. And so it's like, and I'm grateful that I was able to talk with the my violin player and my cello player and to say like, is this something that we can try and actually do? Is this playable? So, and I was grateful to have that feedback as I was trying to do that transcription. I love doing that and to really bring all of the voices together. So it's not just my voice, but it's also the voice of the poet that I've worked with before, of a couple of people that they're getting married later this fall. And so being able to bring their voices all together into one piece has been such a joy. Well, I started piano lessons when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I would try to do some practice, but then I would try to noodle around a little bit and try to make something new out of that. And I would try to write things and it's like, and looking back at some of those old little notes is like, oh my gosh, some of the theory that I learned now is like so not right. But one of the things that I have been able to do is to kind of go back and try to get the hints of what I was trying to do and actually um make it a little easier in terms of theory wise. But I think I was always just kind of playing around with all the different sounds, and also playing with vocal sounds too. Because one of the things that I have always enjoyed doing is just the sounds of what the voice can do with both English and just simply vocables, and just playing with all the different sounds with the back of the throat being opened up and just playing with that. Part of it is has been learning more about the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, uh, also finding out how to specifically word something in order to create the sound that I want. And I think that's where my English minor is kind of coming into play because like I have to creatively write how to portray what I'm thinking. Most of them are based in nature. So I recently was able to get a recording done by the First Readings Project, directed by J. David Moore, of one of the pieces called Tears of May. And so that was involved the Canadian wildfires that happened last year. So there's the that aspect of the nature about some of the destruction that has happened. But the first by the same poet last year, there's a different poem called Dear A, and that all had to do with identity. And so that's another aspect that I really enjoyed is how the poet was really working on the nature of identity with just a name. So that's a little bit where some of the social justice kind of pops in too. Everything is woven together. And that's why I even say, some of the bodywork stuff that I also do, and some of the Enneagram and the music, they're all kind of tied in together. Can't separate them out. With the Enneagram, it's divided into three centers. You got the head center, the heart center, the body center. And what I've come to realize is I'm trying to tend to my mind and my heart. And by tending to my heart, that means that I need to try to work on my expression. And that's what music is all about. Music is all about the ability to express myself and the ability to connect with other people's expressions. It's such a beautiful thing to finally recognize that and to be able to put that out into the world. The Enneagram is one of the tools that I use to um as part of the whole mind gardening thing. So it's tending to my mind. My mind likes to go all over the place. It likes to think about this thing. It likes to to think about all of these other ideas that I have and trying to think, oh, that's right, maybe I shouldn't do that then because I need to focus on this now. And so I'm kind of going all over the place. And so I'm trying to, okay, bring the mind back. I need to be right here. What is right here? What is right now telling me to do? And I need to harness my mind, harness all of the voices that are going on in here. So that's what that's kind of all about. I am bringing all of those stray thoughts coming from all over and bringing it back to center. And sometimes I use the Enneagram to bring it back to center. Sometimes I use the Myers-Briggs to bring it back to center. But I use all these different tools to bring myself back to center. All it is all about for me is to make sure that I can come back to my breath, come back with a clear mind so I can actually be here. This was a few years back when I was doing an Enneagram workshop and we wanted to include music. And we thought, well, how are we going to get around some of the copyright stuff? And I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll just do some songs related to the Enneagram so we can kind of, so it's just my music that we're doing. So we wouldn't have to worry about the copyright. Um, so that's kind of where the Enneagram and the music kind of comes together. The Enneagram has the 9 points around the circle, and so each of these points has a basic fear, a basic desire. So I kind of touch upon that. I uh, would take words from people who identify as a type 1, and so if for that one it was the perfectly imperfect. What was very interesting when I was doing the song for type 6 is like I couldn't put any other instruments with it. And the reason for that is because it's um so 6 is kind of the center of the head center. The head center is 5, 6, 7, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on in our heads. And so one of the things that we need to be aware of is to quiet that mind. And so just to have the voice, not any other instruments to confuse or to go all over the place, but to come back to just my voice. But it was really interesting to kind of get the energies of all 9 types. One of the things that I have learned in that process is more about the transitions between double stops. Oh, okay, so maybe I can't have too many double stops in a row. And so that's been quite a learning. And that's certainly influenced some of my other things that I've been working on a personal nature. It's like, okay, so if I can't do that many double stops, how can I do this, still get the sound that I want? Sometimes it really depends on what I want to work on in terms of starting it. Couple of years ago, I was doing a retreat at the Christine Center in Wisconsin, and first cabin that I walked in, right cabin I was staying at, there's this wall hanging and with uh the poem on it, and it was just this automatic, I know the tune to this. I know the melody. And then there are other times in which it's like, I'm just not getting it. And and at those points when I just don't feel like that I have that sense of, okay, I'm going to just grab a piano book or folk music book and just kind of start playing other stuff. And sometimes from there I'll get ideas and just, oh, there's that little riff. I could kind of play off of that. And in terms of ending a piece, um, for the most part, it's just kind of intuition. The piece that I did for the friend's wedding, though, where I had thought was kind of a good ending spot, the person wanted it longer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so where do I go from here then? So that was a fun challenge to expand more beyond what I originally thought was a good ending spot. So that was a fun challenge. On a personal nature, just kind of when I was younger, I just had a lot of fear about judgment from other people and thinking I'm just not good enough. And
Mm.
that whole imposter syndrome that pops up and it's like, and trying to get past through that and kind of work through it. And um, that's tough. It's really tough. Part of that, I just started to realize at one point, is my own mental roadblocks. And after some years of trying to work through some of those mental roadblocks, it was like, okay, so let's just try maybe just a little bit out there in the world, see maybe if somebody might actually like it who isn't in my family. And I started to get some good responses, so I'm trying to do a little bit more of that. And as I've been doing more of that, it's like, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit more comfortable doing this. Some of that fear still kind of pops up, and it's like, okay, breathe through this. You can
Mm.
do this. And to be able to talk more about it without that fear of judgment, I mean, without my own judgment coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a way, I think that's also been a huge part of my own growth pattern right there. So I was in chronic pain when I was a kid. And when I started off in college, had I wasn't entirely certain at one point. It's like how much of this is going to be affecting my ability to continue. I didn't start receiving the my own body work. Let's see, I started doing that when I was about 17 or so. And as I started to receive it, the body work, I started to become more confident in myself and in my body, and I started to get a little bit less pain. And that was an influence on wanting to be able to help others with their pain. It was this beautiful way of, as I'm healing my own body, I'm also wanting to be able to help others with their body. And I'm also thinking about all of those musicians in which they get repetitive stress injuries from playing so much. And that's one thing that I really wanted to be able to help musicians too. And that's kind of informed some of my own practices with what I do for clarinet and for singing and really working with the body's fascia. Then also really listening to the body as well is just such an incredible um system of sound. Putting this back to the generations piece, there's a couple of sections in there in which the cello has that lub dub sound,
Hmm.
lub dub, because the heartbeat is right there. Some of the stuff that I've been kind of working on right now is just more of some personal projects, and uh, one of the ones that I've been going in my head over lately is a a little bit of a poem that I wrote. So I've been trying to mull over how I want to put that in a round because I want this poem as a round. So it's kind of a circular motion with it. And I recently sent off a piece of music that I wrote for a conquest player, and I want to do a couple more meditation music for her. So that's another thing that I am working on. The same poet that I've worked on before, he had gifted me a couple of his poetry books, and so I've been going back to some of those and doing more of that. Catherine Bell is the founder of the Awakened Company, and I've taken some classes from her as well. And there are a couple of her poems that I'm putting together for a couple of songs. And so those are just a couple of ones that I'm working on. You can find me on my website, uh, uh, sarahmc.net, sarahmic.net. I just tried to do some updates on there, but oh my gosh, it is a lot of work. But yeah, you can also find me on Facebook as well. Just Sarah McMahill is, I think, is how you can find me. Thank you. I really appreciate this.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this interview and want to see more like it, check out the 30 by 30 by 30 playlist on our channel. For more information about the 30 by 30 by 30 project, check out the website linked to the right.